Please welcome Miss Shirley.
Good morning. Wow, thank you, Abby and Jessica and the whole Creative Morning crew. You guys do an incredible thing here. It's really important. So I'm talking on the topic of softness, but first I think I want to play a song. I love your poetry. I think that was really beautiful. Thank you for sharing. But this song is super important to me. I get to meet a lot of people with the work that I do, and a lot of people that have gone through really hard things, that have hardened to the world, because the world is really hard and tough. But this song softens me, and this song is really important to me. It reminds me that despite how dark and how hard and how scary the world can be, we have to soften. This song softens me. And you might know it. It's called Archie, Marry Me. It's by the All Days. I also just feel like this is fitting. We're in this space. We hosted a music event here in March called Sound of Mind. And so as a way for us to kind of share our impacts in our mental health nonprofit. But this is a cover. I love it, by the band Flight. And I'm going to ask you if you want to join me. I close my eyes, and a little visualization practice I really love. It just helps me see out of my own darkness. So first you can picture someone, as you're breathing, this light in your heart, just filling up and growing brighter. And then you can picture someone in your life that you've lost or that's no longer here, and send some of that light and love to them. And a few rounds after that, you can picture someone that maybe is still here, that you're struggling to love, and send some love to them. And then lastly, picture all that light and love going into your heart. So I'm going to play the song. It's only 2 minutes. You can close your eyes, you can not. You can also just breathe. You're already breathing, so good job. And we're just going to listen, and then I'll go through the talking. So if you haven't heard the original, it's by the All Days, but that band's really awesome. I'm trying to get them to play for us at our next Sound of Mind. So if you want to be a sponsor of that event, find me after. They're not cheap, but anyone named Archie? That'd be really crazy. No, thank you for letting me share that. Thank you again, Creative Mornings. You guys really do create a space where I think people feel safe, seen, supported, and open to softening. Today I'm going to share about the work I get to do and why I love what I do, and then how kind of softness ties into this whole thing. So our mental health nonprofit is Quest. That should have been up there before, sorry. There's my email if you need it. But so we're a mental health nonprofit. If you haven't heard of us, we get the really amazing opportunity to work with college students. So we're starting peer support groups on college campuses. And our mission is to strengthen the mental fitness of young adults, but really what that means is we're hopefully creating a community where students feel safe, seen, and supported. A big part of what we do is very similar to this. We host events that allow people to storytell, allow people to come together and to open up and to soften. But recreational is a big part of, activities are a big part of what we do. It's just super near and dear to my heart. But it also is kind of like our gateway to storytelling. People want to do some kind of fun activity, whether it's paddleboarding, surfing, yoga, a walk. It's just easier to open up. So that's kind of why we use that. So these are some of my favorite events that we do. We do a Row for Recovery campaign every September to raise recovery awareness. We do May mental health bridge walks over the bridge, and one leader shares their story on top of the bridge every day. It's beautiful. And then we had the chance to speak actually at the Citadel for their Suicide Awareness Day a couple of years ago. And then Paul Roof, some people know Paul Roof here, right? I met that guy at Creative Mornings. The first one I went to, I heard him talk, and I was like, I gotta know this guy. Went up to him after. He ended up being our first faculty advisor for the College of Charleston group that we have. So he's super special to me. Timmy Bender with James Island Yoga, once a month yoga class for us. It's free, it's open to anybody. Amazing community, amazing person, amazing leader and light in our community. And then we do these mental health workshops, and then Sound of Mind. So we hosted a music event here last March. It was beautiful. We had students storytell our impact and kind of their testimonies and introduce artists to the stage. It's a super cool event. We're gonna hopefully do that again in March. But is Dave still here? Sorry to call you out. You had to stay till this slide. So how I got here, why I'm here, I can't answer that actually, but I do know that 3 years ago I had this idea. I had this vision and just a lot of things happening in my life, a lot of softening happening in my life. And I had this idea. I was like, man, I really feel like I should do a nonprofit. I really want to help people that, like me, have struggled with mental health and maybe don't have the spaces or the grace to open up from others. And so I had this idea. We kind of filed for a nonprofit, got approval, put together a board based on a vision and a mission statement, and then hosted an event at Ethos. And it was a kickoff event based off of a film we produced, telling people's recovery stories. And somehow, I don't know, we raised over $100,000 in a night, and it was like, I just have a website and a mission statement, so I don't know what to do. But what I did have is I had amazing mentors and people in my life and friends that supported me and believed in me and provided me with the space and inspiration to open up and to continue on. And Dave is one of those people. Dave Alberg, he's a near and dear friend of my heart, and I just wanted to dedicate this speech to you because I've actually never had the chance to do that. So thank you for being here. Don't be late for your wife. She's gonna be pissed. But my intention today is to just open up and be okay with all that I don't know, to kind of let go of this need to know. I think that's just another form of control. And it's really hard. I think in life we overvalue having and knowing when it's way harder to lose and to unknow and to let go. And that's a deep form of softening. Foucault is a great writer. He's a French writer. He wrote an amazing book I came across in college called Madness and Civilization. And he basically asked deep questions about the progress of where society is going and why we're treating people that are mentally ill as they're so different. He questioned it. He thought maybe that we're just in a world that is stripped of symbolic meaning and that we've hardened to what people's souls are trying to say. In this book I really recommend, but he has a beautiful quote that I always like to say and remind myself of. He said, if you knew when you began a book what you would say at the end, do you think you would have the courage to write it? What is true for writing and love relationships is true also for life. The game is worthwhile insofar as you don't know where it will end. And I think that's a beautiful reminder that the uncertainty of life, of every moment, is actually a beautiful possibility. There's an open quality to that. And if you can embrace that uncertainty, a softening, if you will, I think that a lot more is possible in our world. So I just want to acknowledge my intention. But I feel like this is the theme. So I'm just gonna, in line with that intention, ask a question. I'd love to hear from y'all. What is so hard about being soft? Think of softness however you want. Yes, that's me in a bucket.
You feel like if you're soft, you get taken advantage of.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
You may get hurt.
Yeah. Certainly. Anyone else?
I think scared of, like if you're honest or vulnerable, depending on who you're with and what you have going on in your life, it can feel like friction, like you can't be your real self.
Yeah. And someone over here?
I think we confuse it with weakness,
Mm.
and that being soft means we're weak. And I think as humans, being strong to get through anything is important, but that doesn't mean that softening is weakness.
Yeah, I love all that. Thank you.
I feel like the world is designed and wired for you to be hard, and so to be soft is like going against everything that we're set up to be.
Yeah, certainly. As men, I think.
I feel like we just project how we feel inside.
Wow, there's a couple psychiatrists here that probably have some great things to say about projection. All right, last one, maybe? Anyone else?
I said particularly speaking on men, I think for so long you've been conditioned and it's been engraved in you to, you gotta be that person, or else you won't be able to provide, you won't be able to protect. But as I said in my thing, it comes in different forms. And a lot of times, like, people mistake that for weakness, just like they said. But I just believe it's balance. Everybody needs balance. So you gotta have, yin and yang. So I think that's how, everybody needs that.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm glad you answered last. I'm going to read a poem. It's a softening I'm working on, but it's a practice that's really important to me because I think it allows me to make sense of things even when things don't make sense. And I love what you said about it's perceived as weakness, and I think that couldn't be it's so paradoxical. That couldn't be more untrue. So this summer, actually, when I met Jessica, or when she actually approached me about this, I was in a place that was very stuck. I was hurting. I was saddening. And I could feel my mind and my heart hardening. And so I wrote this during the summer, but it reminds me that maybe even in those moments, there's a softening happening, and there's a softening that we're not aware of. And so I wrote this, it's called Tell Me. Tell me, please tell me, did it have to hurt this much? I fall from love, I push then shove, just to find your tender touch. Tell me, would you tell me, what lies inside your head? Does the past haunt you, a shadow or clue? Not all love you needs to be said. Hold me, please hold me. This room hasn't any light. True friends stay close, remind you the most of all the wrong inside the right. Hold me, would you hold me? Tonight speaks wise, my dear. Your warmth like tea wraps arms around me. We're never close nor far as we fear. Love me, please love me, said every eye in this room. And still we resist sweetness in God's kiss. I fear we all die far too soon. Love me, would you love me? In that broken, silent way. As the cardinal sings, unfurls its wings, will love lost find its way? Thank you, Abby. Abby's provided me a lot of poetry inspiration over the years. So thank you for answering that too. Shout out to my mother, who just kind of knew before anybody knew. Maybe I was born to do this talk, I don't know. But she put me in that bucket. But this is 16 years later, me lifting with a bunch of 40 and 50-year-old men at a gym that I found in West Ashley, in the back of a Krav Maga gym. And these guys really adopted me, truly. They were mentors to me when I was really, really struggling in high school with emotions, with addictions and mental illness in my family, and not knowing how to cope with it. Desperately, I was looking for a place to be safe, seen, and supported, and these men really provided it for me. But I think the real question is, why was I leaving high school every day to go lift with a bunch of 40 and 50-year-old men for hours, instead of hanging out with friends, instead of being with my family, instead of being home, doing something else? I was trying really hard not to be soft, and I was really, really escaping. I had a lot of shit going on in my head, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know what to do with it. But I learned from these guys that I could channel that into something good. I could channel that into something with a single-minded focus, something that actually made me feel good, even though truly at the time it was a cover-up. This guy right here, he and I do yoga at James Allen Yoga like 3 days a week now, and he's a big old softie. So really, really lucky. I'm really lucky I found that at the time I did. But flash forward, went to college at Charleston, where we also have a student organization. I got into the honors program. I was always really good at school. I loved school. I was dedicated. I was working hard. I was very motivated, and I had everything together on the outside, but I felt like shit on the inside, and I hid that. I did a really poor job of talking and reaching out. My sophomore year, I had a 4.0 my first year in honors program. Thought I wanted to do med school or whatever, I don't know. I was very confused. And sophomore year, it all hit me. And it was anger, it was resentment, it was guilt, it was sadness, which I think anger always morphs into sadness over time. And I did what the word implies. I pushed it down. I literally depressed it. And I got in such a dark spot my sophomore year where I was like, I don't want to do this. Forget school, forget everything. I did a terrible job of reaching out for help, and I didn't know what was going on. I was so tired. It was like a dark cloud fell over me. I just had no more of the motivation I had. And I now know that it was my first depressive episode. But how I went from being someone that really looked like it had it all together to almost dropping out, thinking about suicide for the first time, which is way more normal than people think. We just don't talk about it. How did that happen? So I did a terrible job of reaching out for help, but post-college I moved abroad to Spain, taught English, came back. Some really profound stuff happened in my family, some just really, really, just things that are not in anyone's control. And it brought us really close. There was a lot of healing, a lot of transformation. And that's kind of when I had a business with a buddy. I was working with a lot of college students, hiring them. And I noticed I was recognizing myself in them. I'm like, man, there's a lot of young people struggling. A lot of young guys that would come and talk to me, and I don't know why, I think I just got to know them. And it just reminded me of me. And I was like, I feel like I could do something. met a woman that directed a nonprofit, amazing nonprofit called Iron Wolf Recovery, hosted CrossFit classes for people coming out of substance use treatment centers, detox, channeling one addiction into the next, just like me with lifting. I mean, I was like, whoa, what you do is so cool. And hosted a fundraiser for her because I was just so inspired. And that day really changed things for me. And a week later, come to find out, one of my friends overdosed, passed away at 29, and it just shook me. And it was like that little whisper and thing I kept hearing, that knock on the door, was just like, the door just got burst open. And so we started that nonprofit with the help of people like Dave and mentors and friends of mine. And this was actually one of our first mental health workshops. We used to host at Basic Kitchen. It was open to the public, and I really drew the inspiration from this group. So thank you, Creative Mornings. I never acknowledged that, but thank you all for that. And so I'm very lucky to get to do that. And what else was going on? So 2022, that year, we had the highest amount of death by overdoses in our country, over 100,000. Nearly half that were suicides, death by suicide. And in Charleston alone, there was a 78% increase in suicide attempts. And I was hearing of this, I was starting to tell my story, people were telling me theirs, and I was like, what is this? I wanted to know why. And I've learned, I think over time, I've learned that when bad things are happening, personally and around me, it's just something needs to be born. There's space that's being created for something necessary to be born, and something beautiful, hopefully. And so people like Luke, this guy, another Luke, came out to our Row for Recovery campaign. I didn't know him. It was the first one we did. He reached out and shared his story about losing his first daughter to an overdose, to the same addiction that he battled and it was able to overcome, and lost his first daughter at 26. And I didn't know the guy, and he just cried. He bawled his eyes out and shared his story that we did a campaign video for. It's beautiful. You can find it on our YouTube and Instagram. And it just reminded me that maybe illness is just a story waiting to be unburdened, a story that needs to find its place in the mystery of a person's life. And we get to provide the space, the lightness, the grace, and the opportunities for people to soften into that. And Luke is a really beautiful reminder of that for me. And the word recovery we do use, and the reason why we have so many recovery-related events and campaigns is recovery for us is not just with substances. People's mind go immediately to that. And that's okay, but there's a big stigma still on that word. And we try to bring that out and bring a little lightness to it. And truly the word, just like recreation, which is why we host so many events like that, means to renew or to find again, to recreate. And I think really we're all doing that through life. Carl Jung had a great quote. He said, you will find it, he wrote to a friend, he said, you will find yourself again out in the simple and forgotten things. And I just love that. You will find yourself again out in the simple and forgotten things. It's simple things that bring us home, that bring us back to ourselves, that allow us to shine that light through. And that's why I love getting to host the events that we do, and then take people paddleboarding. They've never been paddleboarding, they've never been on the river, and just getting outside, sharing a paddle, sharing a moment with someone, a smile, getting a hug from a stranger. That stuff really has an outsized impact on people's lives. So flash forward to today. How am I doing on time? Okay, I got 5 more minutes maybe. We get to work with the Citadel, so our second organization just started thanks to Professor Emmerich she was here. And this is a huge honor for me because I went to Charleston, but growing up, one of my good friends, his older brother lost his battle to suicide. And he was a student, he was a kid at the time. And I remember it really shook him and his family. We were too young to understand and to know. But I've started thinking about suicide differently, and you hear people say take or commit their life, commit suicide. And to me, that just already carries a stigma and an assumption. And I've started saying maybe people are giving their lives. That maybe some people's light just burns so bright while they're here, and that they have to go out so we can continue to share that light and their love. And it's super hard. I just still don't know. I was going to read a poem about it, but I actually don't feel like I can read it right now. So softening to me, what this word kind of means for me now is I think it's a recovery of just this deeper knowing, a knowing of the heart. I think of intention and intuition kind of in a similar vein. Like when I put an intention, maybe you did one when you're breathing, it feels to me like a thought that's fallen into my heart. And to be able to live in line with that, what's true in your heart, what's true in you, to me is a matter of being intuitive or intentional with your life. I actually think it's probably the opposite of addiction and addictions. But these two men, Daniel Kahneman, Dalai Lama, you probably know Dalai Lama, but that's Daniel Kahneman, just passed away last year, amazing psychologist, and so too is the Dalai Lama. That guy's a psychologist without being one. Guys that really like embody softness. They embody intellectual humility. They go into a room and they're more interested in greeting a kid or someone in a wheelchair than they are talking to a world leader or a CEO that he's consulting for. This is an amazing book by Pico Iyer about the Dalai Lama. Kind of follows his life and the trajectory of it. And they both enjoy. They have a deep joy in being wrong, which I think is a beautiful gift to have. To not know, coming back to my intention, to be proven wrong by life. They both have talked about that. There's a joy in being wrong. So, practical advice and takeaways, my steps to softening. I'm really not one to give advice here, but I would say that, because advice really is just you saying what you need to hear yourself. I don't know if you've ever said something and you're like, oh wow, I just needed to hear that myself. But this comes from the Bible, book of Matthew, and ask and it shall be given to you, seek and you shall know, knock and it shall be opened to you. I use that in my life, I come back to that, and to me that can look differently. Sometimes it's closing my eyes and doing that visualization. Sometimes it's writing, sometimes it's praying. And sometimes it's just taking a nap, which I turned 30 this year, and all of a sudden I realized naps are really awesome. I don't know what that is, but like if I'm struggling with something, I'm just like, I'm gonna lay down, close my eyes, and always when I wake up, I'm like, that wasn't that big a deal. And so maybe try just napping. Dino there is an amazing guy in the community. He really helped me get Quest started and worked with us in some drug court programs, but amazing guy that embodies, I think, this talk and topic. So ask, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be curious. I think curiosity, if you can turn curiosity to anything you experience, turn a curiosity or curiosity-driven mindset towards it, it's so much better. And then you can allow compassion in, and then you can have the courage, which the root of that means heart in French, to go in, to know more. So that's also how that looks like. This is a little T yogi tag that I have, not the actual one, but found this on Google. And the one that I keep says, let opportunities come to you. And that's a good reminder to soften for me. We try so hard to thrust our will and our way upon others in the world. A great writer, Anne Lamott, she's like one of my favorites, great speaker too, wrote or said that sometimes I think help is the sunny side of control. And this reminds me that no one needs your help. People want to solve problems themselves, and they have the answers themselves. We just have to let go, and we have to learn to step back and let things come to us. Very paradoxical given the work that I do, but that's kind of what Quest means to me too. And all right, this is my last slide. I feel like this whole talk could have been this slide. I think it's the hardest soft that we can bear, and it's love. And this great Sufi mystic poet, Rabia, wrote in a poem called Die Before I Die. She ended it with, I was born when all I once feared I could love. And she lived a really hard life. Not much known about her, but her poetry is amazing. And it reminds me, like, why do we fear love? I'm actually curious, why is love, why do we fear it?
You're losing it.
Yeah.
Not having it returned.
Yeah. Unrequited love. That's a tough one.
It's revealing.
Yeah. Anyone else? The vulnerability?
It's very vulnerable when you're in love.
Yeah. Do you guys know each other? Yeah. I don't know. I thought a lot about this talk, and again, I had to write a poem, but I think to me, take me back to the baby in the bucket slide. Like, if you are open to receiving love, which you have to receive love to give love. Maybe you have to give love to receive love. It is terrifying. And it is vulnerable. It makes you vulnerable. It makes you like that little baby in a bucket. All right, you may think you have this like steel structure and this hard wall around you protecting you from the world, but you're a softie. And you're very open and vulnerable. But we have to love. And we have to choose love. And we have to let love in. William Blake also has a great poem, and he ends it with, we are put on earth a little space to learn to bear the beams of love. And I love that imagery of that, like bearing the beams of love. That's why that visualization is helpful for me. Imagining it coming into my heart. And it's always there. We imagine it in some other place, in some afterlife, but we're steeped in its layers of love in this lifetime. And that's why I think loss really reminds us of how special this life is, how sacred and short life is. So we have to risk being seen. We have to risk delight. We have to risk loving. It's also, I think it's also one of the few socially accepted and remaining forms of madness that we don't shun and shame. And if you've been in love, I think you probably know what I'm talking about, and I don't need to explain that any further. So I hope today you leave with a little bit of that light and love in your heart. And I'll end with the poem. I wrote this because I think sometimes to grasp something or to let go of something, you have to think of it in its opposite. And I wrote, there's a longer poem I'm still working on, but I want to share part of it. It's called Things Love Never Said. Love never said to anyone, you're not enough. Love always seeks nourishment. You're just right for me. When will we fold our cards we hide behind and fall into God's wine barrel? Will we crawl out drunk or just too happy from her love? And I say God, but I mean, put whatever word you want in there. Anne Lamott says, God is just really another great way of saying not me. But thank you guys, thank you Creative Mornings, really, this is so special.
Thank you, Luke. If you need to leave, please do so. We have time for maybe 2